Okay, so I'm here with Scott and Melinda Mylock. Now, they're representing a film called Alpha, short thriller film actually, which is in competition at Festival in Berlin this year. Congratulations and welcome.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning. Now, Melinda's the producer, Scott is the actor in the film. And yeah, Melinda, if you could start by just giving us a brief synopsis of the film.
All right, so briefly, the film is just about two assassins, always been in competition with each other throughout the years. And the film is really about who is going to be the alpha dog, the top dog of the assassin world.
Yeah, this sort of alpha male hit person, yeah. Interesting. And so I've seen it a couple of times. I watched it again. Actually, I watched it again this morning. And I felt the lead assassin, if that's all right. Is it David? It's not David.
Yeah,
Is it
it's
David?
Dave White.
Yeah. I can see exactly what you mean, but you sort of get the feeling that actually he's, well, it's more than a feeling. I think it's perhaps in the film that he's actually trying to get out of the game, isn't it?
He is. He's trying to get himself out of that world, and it just keeps pulling him back in.
And what I love, and this is explicit in the film as well, his character is shown and it's described between your conversation with him that he's kind of I want to say a nice assassin. He's never actually killed anyone innocently, has he?
That didn't deserve it.
That didn't deserve it, and obviously that was in the script for a particular reason.
Right, yes.
And there was a nice dynamic with him and his family, which, without giving too much away, basically him and his wife are divorcing, and he's kind of at the last chance saloon, isn't he?
Right, yeah, exactly.
There's still a chance for it to end in a positive way.
Well,
he's hoping, but through a meeting that happens, that kind of doesn't sort of go down well. But anyway, it's a brilliantly made film, and perhaps you could tell us how you both became involved in it.
Right. Let me start out. So Dave White Sr. is actually the assassin that I'm working with. He is the father of Dave White Jr., who is a graduate from Savannah College of Arts and Design there in Savannah, Georgia. And Dave White Sr. is a retired SWAT police officer.
He seemed very familiar. I didn't IMDb him. Is he familiar?
He's been doing some stuff recently.
Yeah, he's been doing some stuff, but mostly behind the scenes.
Right,
so.
okay.
So his primary passion is, and he started a company called the Tactical Film Fighting Academy, where he trains.
The fight sequences are really good. Really well done, actually.
He's training actors how to properly hold weapons. For when they're doing those SWAT police terrorist rescue type.
Yeah, so it's realistic.
Yeah, it's realistic.
So his son asked him to come on and help support with all the choreography, the fight scenes, the weapon handling, and all that stuff. So that's how I kind of got involved, because in the past I've worked with Dave White as being one of the examples. What I do in my real world is related to tactical weapons stuff in the Navy. I'm an explosive ordnance technician, so I have a lot of experience with weapon handling and explosives and those types of tactics in real life. So I was able to help him translate that into a properly made film.
Right, so sorry for confusion. I'm talking about the lead actor in this.
Right.
It's the same. That's the person. That's the familiarity. Because I looked at him, like I was saying, I should have IMDb'd him before you came. And I just thought he looks ever so familiar. And then Adam came in, and then I didn't have a chance to do it. And I was going to take a look, because they all act really well in it. But he seems quite a seasoned.
Yeah, he has a good look to him.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Well, he's I don't know how many years, way over 20 years, with the fight scenes and the weapon handling. That's what he did in real life. So when you watch him on screen, he just empowers that scene because he knows exactly what he's doing.
And quite interestingly for those who haven't seen it, I know. Excuse me. I noticed with the fight sequences, a lot of them were complete scenes without an edit. I mean, you did get an edit when you went to another point, but there's some fighting in there, and it's like, when's the edit coming? There isn't. It's quite clever.
Shoot that with one take,
right? Some of them, and I know they joined them together, but even so, it's really smartly done. So and it's the. Where did you get the garage for this? How did that all? I mean, I'm assuming it's a real garage. It's not a set, is it?
No. Actually, it was a manufacturing warehouse plan of some sort. Right. So it was shot in two locations, one in Savannah and one in Virginia Beach. That particular scene was done in Virginia Beach, Virginia. And it's just site location, saw a nice warehouse, saw the equipment. It looked like it was an open space, first of all, for those types of fight scenes.
Yeah.
And, on a small budget, you're kind of beg, borrowing, stealing, and he just came across that job. I thought it was a really good backdrop.
Mm-hmm.
No, it worked really well. And Melinda, what about you? How did you become involved in this?
I wasn't involved until later in the process when I saw the actual finished product. and was really impressed with how it turned out.
Yeah, it's got a really nice look
Yes,
to it.
it does. It's really finished, really nice product, and just wanted to see, what we could do with it. I think it has a lot of potential to maybe be turned into a feature at some point.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I could see that actually. Yeah, you mean what? Because he's quite. I mean, he's quite. I mean, you're a good-looking guy, but Dave's good-looking. Yeah. And he's quite sort of grizzled. And I was sort of thinking, it'd be nice to know where this guy came from.
Right.
and
There's a lot of backstory we don't get in the short, but I think could be made into a really nice feature.
Yeah, absolutely. It was clever writing because of the way he did the short. As any filmmaker will tell you, he probably had a feature's length worth of material.
Right.
Yeah, I think so.
But once you start chopping and editing, you got to keep the best bits. So it definitely has a great potential to really dive into my character Decker, his backstory. My nemesis's backstory. And of course his family life and how that all came about with the wife and
because I wondered when, again, I shouldn't talk about because this is the plot. When she's met someone else, I was kind of thinking, is that someone else you? No,
that would have been a good
that would have
been a
because
big twist.
Because I noticed he happened to know exactly when the girl's birthday was, and I remember thinking, well, how would he know that?
Oh, I think just from working with each other for
Yeah,
years and
yeah,
years.
yeah. I guessed it was probably that, but then I thought, well, maybe he's the other guy.
Yeah.
And then unfortunately the film ran out. I was thinking,
Right.
oh, is that going to be like the twist at the end of it?
So we're not talking Alpha the sequel, we're talking Alpha the franchise.
Right, exactly.
So, where did you come from in terms of your film background? Because I know you've got a career that's it's a military career. You have
Right,
at the
it's a
moment.
military career. I've always had a passion for performing arts, and when I met Melinda in 2007, actually, she's a dance instructor, so I was taking dance lessons, and just to satisfy that performing arts bug I had. Her friends were related to the film and acting and stage acting community, so I just met folks and just really adapted to it. I enjoyed it, so that's how it kind of grew.
And you, I assume, morphed from the dance side into the filmmaking side.
A lot of the dance side. I've been teaching for over 20 years, so a lot of dance. But in that industry, you meet a lot of other people, photographers and filmmakers. And when you run a dance school, a dance studio, a lot of people need open spaces for filming. So you become very popular as someone that they can call.
Yeah.
And so,
we need a space.
Right, we need a space, and in return, we'll do this or whatever. So I like working behind the scenes. I like, helping with the filming and the producing and all that sort of thing. So it's a good fit for me.
And from the, were you sort of intrigued by the filmmaking from years ago? Did you not read that bother and then it sort of crept up? How did it all happen?
No, it just kind of came about. It's not something I was ever interested in a long time ago. In fact, I was more of a theater person.
Right.
Done a couple of theater things, but the film making is really intriguing to me. I like the process.
Yeah, I mean, it's very involved, and actually yours is a good example of it's just 10 minutes long, but I guess it was a hell of a lot to, because you've got, I know, choreograph the scene, the fight scenes, find the locations, get all the actors together, and everything else involved. Is it possible to explain how a 10-minute film, the time involved, and the effort involved to put it all together?
It was months of filming, for one thing, with the two locations, partly in Savannah and Virginia Beach.
Yeah.
We're talking just travel time alone took, weeks and weeks, and then the post-production, of course, with editing and adding the sound effects and that sort of thing. It just takes a while. I'm not sure exactly how long it took him to do that project.
I knew there was several versions of it, obviously, because you have, and then he'll send it out to some of the folks in the cast. You never really widely distribute it, obviously, until it's ready. But he'd send out a few things, and we're like, oh, the coloring, or there's a sync issue with this, or and that's once again back to Dave Senior, because of his extensive knowledge in weapons. The sound effects of the click, the clips, the racketing, and the rounds being extracted from the weapon. That all has a distinctive sound to it.
And he knows what that should be.
He knows what it sounds like, so he can listen to it and go, that's not really consistent with that, or that's too loud, that's not a handgun, that's more of a 50 cal or something. I mean, it's kind of interesting how they put that much detail into it.
Now, I just want to point, because you two are living in the UK at the moment, and something that did cross my mind was, I wonder how this would work as a film, the whole film exactly as it was, but shot in the UK with English actors. I wonder if it would work, you'd have the same kind of dynamic.
Yeah. The English, you're so polite. I'm not sure.
Well, not all of us, but it did strike me if it would. I don't know if it would work as well, perhaps in the East End or something, but it would. I think it would lose like the look and feel of it. It
think
wouldn't
you
be
might
the
be
same,
right,
would it?
yeah.
But it did. I did wonder. You'd have to put on an
That's
English
an
accent.
interesting concept. I don't know.
You know, I am thinking there's a lot of these spy and assassin movies that are, coming out of the UK. Obviously, there's some very successful ones. And if you do look at the I'm trying to find the right word, like the atmosphere of Alpha, just the whole element of it,
Yeah.
And then you watch the atmosphere to some of the other British, or even way back when with the James Bond type movies.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, they were very sinister in their own right as far as, trying to get this mission accomplished, but it just translated a little different.
Yeah, it's a little different.
So.
And what will you do? This is directed to you, Scott, because I know I believe you're coming to the end of your career at the moment in terms of in the military.
Right, 27 years, and we're going to move on to something else.
And is that? I know that's it. Next year it finishes. I
Yeah,
believe.
early next year.
So is this the career path that you're going to try and get more involved in?
We're going to see how well Alpha
Yeah.
does. No, just kidding.
No, but you've been bitten by the bug, which I always say
Oh
to
yeah,
film.
absolutely.
And
Yeah.
and I'll tell you, and this is one of those things. It's a hard industry, I mean, and even if you're working to the point that you're getting paid, unless you're racking in Hollywood and you're an A-lister, it's not very consistent. So, 1 month you'll bring in a really good chunk of change, and the next month you're not. So you got to learn how to. But what I'm getting at is anyone who's truly in this performing arts aspect, that you just can't get away from it. I mean, you're just going to keep gravitating back to it. So, and I think that's the motivation we're going to use as we go forward into our, and I call it my big boy job now. Now I'm moving into a second career. We're definitely looking at expanding on the dance, expanding on the acting.
Because I suppose like anyone that's is doing a career, yours is more. I can see it fits really well, I guess, because it's artistic and
Right.
and to be fair, I have come across quite a few dancers that have morphed into filmmaking, and I totally get why they would do it. And yours in particular, you suddenly got this big shoe and they're going, oh, actually, yeah, this would make a great. And then, because even if you're not involved, they're kind of knocking at the door a bit, aren't they?
Yeah, a little bit, yeah.
And I can see how that would happen. But it's a huge sort of sea change, I guess. You've never.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I tell you, I think I can really capitalize on my life experience. Method acting is going to be a huge thing for me because I have so many years of just experiencing from deployments to Afghanistan, Iraq, working with the people that I worked with, the special ops guys, the weapons, just that whole aspect of being in that type of environment in the military. I have way more of that than I do, obviously, structured, performing arts training. So, but I think that's a good catalyst. I think that'll actually work well for someone like me, who I seem to gravitate more towards the, the law enforcement, types of roles. I'm very typecast as far as FBI, CIA, assassin, action type, stuff.
Was it quite? I mean, when you actually in front of the camera for the first time, how nerve-wracking was it?
Yeah,
Does
it
this
wasn't.
become the real that you weren't?
No. In
Really?
fact, one guy actually, it was my very first role. Was I was a preacher at a pulpit.
A
I was
preacher?
pastor, a preacher, and he gave me.
That seems like a stretch,
I
doesn't
know,
it?
I know, right? The guy gave me a. He goes, look, you can just kind of. We're doing a little bit of a communion type thing. Just talk about the Last Supper, and we'll do like wine's the blood, and then this is the flesh of you just read this, and I was like, I kind of know a little bit about this story. Do you want me to just kind of do like a sermon?
Well, like an ad-libbing.
Right,
yeah.
Really?
So I really just held the sermon, and one of the rules they'll tell new actors, is you don't cut yourself. You just keep going with the character until the director says cut.
Right.
Well, I had ended up almost doing a whole sermon to anyone who's Christian to include the invitation to see if you want to accept Christ as your Savior. And I even did the announcements at the end. I was making up announcements. All right, those all, we have a women's meeting this Wednesday.
And how long did this
then he
go
finally
on for?
said, cut. 15, 20 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah, I think the director just wanted to see where this was going.
Yeah, come to find out, he was a very religious guy himself, and I think he was taken back at the fact that I was just kind of going away. My point is that
But they did use
I
it in the
forgot
film.
about
They did use it in the film, I guess. They did.
They
Yeah.
used bits
Yeah.
of it, yeah.
Right. Okay.
Oh
Sorry.
yeah, they used a lot of that preaching and stuff
Yeah.
in the film, so it was just kind of interesting. Point is I can just take it and run with it, and I forget that the camera's even there, and I start just kind of going with it.
Well, what about when you're? We can use Alpha as an example. When you're going through the script and you've got the lines. Of course, you're taking on another role, aren't you?
Right.
I mean, that's the whole point. It's acting, isn't it? But I often wonder with actors and how they sort of approach a role, because I'm assuming you're not an assassin
Right.
in reality.
Well, a funny story about this. So I was reading, we were doing the table reads and all that, and I was going through I was just throwing mud at the wall as far as my persona. You know, I was trying the really aggressive, sinister, psychedelic type of approach. I was trying to do that calm, cool, and collected, like I'm a cold killer type of thing. And then I ended up just being myself. Literally.
Yeah, I can see that.
I just started,
actually, yeah.
I was just like, I'm just going to read it the way I would read this, you know, and perform this. And Dave White was like, stick with that. That was good. Which is really disconcerting because when you see the movie, like you had said, that, it's a little bit scary.
It was. I mean, it's you, but it's a pumped up you, isn't it?
Yeah, of course.
You know, it's a you. You know, a larger than life. You're not even pumped up physically, obviously,
right,
but.
Yeah, we're older assassins.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is filmmaking fun? I know it seems like a silly question, because it could be a drag as well, can't it? It must be.
Well, I always find it fun, but you know, usually it's not my money on the line when
It's
we're
when
doing
you're
it.
the exec producer, isn't it?
Right.
Right, yeah.
Because it surprises me that an exec producer always looks a little bit further down on the food chain, but of course they're not,
No.
because the producer's name comes before the exec, but actually the execs that have the cash, isn't it?
Right.
So why don't they get top billing? Because they're the ones paying for it, aren't they? Really?
You would think, huh?
And also, with exec producers, does that mean potentially they've got more power over how a film should be cut and put together? Because could they say, well, it's my money?
Right, true. You know,
I think
guess
they do, but I think the good ones don't. You know what I mean? A good one will let the people that he's hired do their jobs and trust that they're going to do it the correct way, instead of having their finger in every little aspect.
And although I know the difference between an exec producer and a producer, perhaps you could explain, just for the benefit of people that might watch this, what the actual the difference is between, other than the cash situation.
Right.
So what would
That's the big one, but I think, you know, if they work well together, there's not a huge difference. But it's all about hiring the correct people to do the specific jobs.
Right. And a producer is much more likely to be spinning the plates, I guess, as well. So, for example, and just correct me if I'm wrong here, you literally could be down on set, I don't know, organising the food, for instance, where the exec producer is unlikely to be doing
Correct.
that. All they want to know is,
Yeah.
I suspect,
The producer's more the boots on the ground type individual.
Right, and is that something, are you happy to be involved in that? I mean,
I am.
Yeah.
I love that aspect of it.
Really?
I like to be running around the set, making sure that, you know, makeup's being done and everybody's where they're supposed to be, and
Yeah, she carries that into the house as well when she's running around
telling people what to do.
Telling me where. Yeah, she probably needs to be a director. If you guys
Well, do you know, that was going to be my next question. What about directing? Because that must have crossed your
It's not
mind.
anything I've ever tried, but I would love to do it.
Yeah.
I would love to give it a shot and see what happens.
I think you should give it a go. I honestly think that in fact, I know most filmmakers I speak to that are producers, I ask them, almost all of them would say, yeah, I'd like to have a go. Because as you've seen how it's put together, and you're, oh yeah, that looks fun.
Well, and, you know, we all are good at saying, that's probably not the way I would do that.
Of course, that Monday night quarterback type thing. You know?
And where do you go from here? I know you've got your plans, and perhaps it's what you want to do once you retire from your current role and move on. But in terms of, are there things in the pipeline that you're looking at the moment?
We do have a few things that we're looking at. We have not made any concrete decisions, but we're definitely, you know, got some irons in the fire, trying to figure out what is going to be best for us.
But how would this, because Adam, I don't know if you know, but his girlfriend, she runs a dance studio.
Oh, okay. No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and I know it's a bloody lot of hard work. I mean, it is tough, and I know it's long hours, but I guess you've got some kind of regime in place, how you, like all of us, except me, organise your time. So how would that slot into your, because it's a big ask, isn't it? Even, like we just explained, even a 10-minute film, anyone that watches, 10 minutes, that's knocked it out in a day.
Right.
But I know it takes days, weeks, even months. So how would you adjust for that if you were going to move more into that?
Well, I think, like you say, time management is the key. Luckily, the dance business usually happens in the evening, which, you know, frees you up during the day to make your phone calls and be on set and, you know, all the other stuff that would need to happen.
Yeah, so you could double
So
tap.
yeah, you could do both.
You know.
Of course, you're not going to sleep very much, but who needs sleep?
Before we came to the UK, she was running a fairly successful ballroom and Latin dance studio called Just Dance On. It was located in Virginia Beach, Virginia. And yeah, I think there's been a lot. There was many 18-hour days,
Yeah.
20-hour days, but to the point where you're giddy and you just don't even know what's going on. But you know, the next day you get a little bit of coffee and you get some sleep and you're ready to do it again.
It's all good.
And that's what it's all about.
You should have applied for Len's job. I know we talked. I know obviously you run a dance because we've talked about this before, but it always just looks. I mean, obviously it's very, very hard. It's very physical, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
And very tough. And I suppose that the advantage of that is that must help in terms of, because filmmaking is by its very nature is very tough, isn't it? And you've got to be, I don't know about physically not necessarily physically. Yeah, you do have to be physically fit,
I think
don't you?
so.
Because I think it's grueling. You know, and I suspect that not necessarily you, but people on set were possibly working till 2 or 3 in the morning.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Oh,
It happens,
absolutely.
isn't it?
You know,
Yes.
and you know, there's the list of the other actors in this film as well. You know, and they're all amazingly talented. But there's some names on there. There's a fight scene that involves, I'd say, a good 5 or so individuals, and
Yeah, I know the one you're talking about. Yes.
decent.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking
Yeah,
about.
of course I do. Yeah.
And you know, you got to look at that. You see that, and yeah, that's physically, you know, demanding that scene. But of course, nobody just shoots something like
Yeah,
that
you
one
don't.
take.
It's not the first take.
No.
No.
You know, you're talking 5-6 hours of just.
Well, even just doing the
Yeah.
choreography for
Right.
that was, you know, I think a day. Get set in the
Yeah,
choreography before they
absolutely.
ever filmed.
Yeah.
So, you know, the next day you're sore from that.
Yeah, and it
Yeah.
did look really demanding. And then, like I say, the choreography is
Yeah,
smart.
the stunt fighters, I was impressed. Once
Yeah.
again, I have a little bit of real world knowledge in some of that. And when I saw that come back, because I wasn't there for that part, you know, how they shoot.
Yeah,
movies,
yeah.
And I'm looking at it.
Yeah, because we should explain, you come in at the end of that scene,
Right,
actually,
yeah,
didn't you?
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, exactly.
When you're like, actually, I really would like to have a bit of that. But that's not what your character's about, because he's cool, isn't he?
Yeah.
I'm sure he's meant to
I mean,
be
there's few people, they work for me, you know,
Yeah.
and I mean, I have
Yeah,
my
yeah.
little henchmen, you know, and I don't deal with that small time
No.
stuff. At least in my head, I thought it was small time.
No, you're
Yeah,
absolutely right. But yeah, you literally, the fight's over, and you just rock up, didn't you?
Just walk
Then
down.
he's taking the jacket. Oh, here we go. The big boss is ready
That's
for
right.
having a
Right, or
go.
maybe that typical attitude is, well, you know, I guess I have to do it myself because obviously these folks couldn't get it done. You know, that attitude, you know, that you get when you're dealing with somebody who's like an alpha or ego-driven.
Yeah. No, it's brilliant. Thank you very much
No,
again.
thank you. We
Thank you.
appreciate it.
That was really wonderful
Thank
as
you.
always, and always get fantastic stories from filmmakers.